yourself a cold one.
They strike 'em, huh?
And listen to Ross Tucker break down the top college prospects on another tasty edition of The College Draft.
Yeah, it's Daddy Soda time here on the College Draft Podcast, presented, of course, as always, by DraftKings. I'm Ross Tucker, former NFL offensive lineman, 5 teams, 7 years. Most of you know that. Love both college football and the NFL. Love that I get to call games like my brother Emory Hunt does as well. I got a doubleheader this week. A little college out in Silicon Valley. Stanford at San Jose State. Looking forward to that. I'll take the red eye back. And then Sunday night, going back up to my home away from home, Buffalo, for the Niners. I should probably just stay in the Bay Area and just hop on the Niners flight on Friday right to Buffalo. I need to make some calls, see if I can save myself a lot of travel there. But I'll be doing that for radio for Westwood One, the Bills and the Niners. We're coming down to the end. It's the last week of college football. For those of you that are new to this show, it's awesome because, you know, like all the other shows, it's 26 minutes or so or less. And we are talking about some of the biggest games in college football. We're talking about some of the best prospects in those games from an NFL draft prospect standpoint. So if you like college football, we dive into that for you. If you like the NFL draft, we give you some nuggets there. And if you like betting in general or in particular on college football, Emory and I discuss some of the picks we would make against the spread in a lot of these games as well. Emory, of course, is the great Emory Hunt, who might actually be most known now for all of his work on CBS Sports HQ. They're posting quotes from him all the time on social media. Emory's like the face of CBS Sports HQ at this point. It's very, very impressive. You can check him out on social media at FBall Game Plan on Twitter, Football Game Plan on YouTube. And you can sign up to get the draft guide now, which I can't highly recommend enough, especially with all of you with your teams already being out of it. All you have to do is look forward to the draft. At least know that you know you're getting the best draft guide when it comes out in March. Footballgameplan.com/2025 draft guide. You can always check me out at Ross Tucker NFL or us at Ross Tucker Pod. It means a great deal. Those of you that rate and review the show, can't thank you enough, or that spread the word about the show in any way, either in person or whatever, tell people about it, or social media. It's super easy just to give us a like or a repost. Or if you make a comment or anything like that, you do any of those things, just make sure you let me know, Ross at rosstucker.com. I can either send you an autograph or you can ask Emory a specific question about a prospect you're interested in. He knows them all, so I would recommend it. All right, Emory, we'll dive into it. Last week, you were 2-5 with your bets last week, so you're 27-35 for the year, which, by the way, is a pretty good lesson. It's hard. It's hard. Like, betting's hard. There's a reason why these companies make so much money. There's a reason why our show's sponsored by DraftKings. Betting is hard, which also, by the way, makes what Steve Fezzik and I routinely do on the Even Money Betting Podcast all the more impressive. You had Vandy getting the 8.5 against LSU. I love that bet, Emory. They were able to hang. They lost by a touchdown, but they were able to cover the 8.5 against LSU, which is a whole other conversation because now it's looking like Nussmeier, who was, by the way, the number one pick like 2 weeks ago, now he might be going back to school, and that might be one of the reasons why the Underwood elite quarterback prospect took the $10 million to go to Michigan. $10 million might be one of the reasons, too, why he switched to Michigan.
Might be the reason, right? It's so, but listen, I like how Vandy is looking. Vandy is looking like how they looked under James Franklin. Which was a solid football team. If Vandy can be competitive, then we're starting to see the SEC as a whole begin to raise its profile because usually it's just top heavy with 3 teams, with that third team being a rotational won, whether it's LSU one year, Florida one year, but it's always been Bama, Georgia, whatnot. So if more SEC teams become solid to good, then the great teams will look even greater.
It's a good point. What about UNLV? You laid the 7 with the Rebels on the road against San Jose State, the team I'll be checking out on Friday. San Jose State's got a pretty good team, man. They were right there against Boise and UNLV till those teams kind of pulled away from them at the end. San Jose State's probably not quite at the level of those other teams, but that was nice by you. And by the way, Colorado State lost to Fresno State, which means if UNLV wins this week, they'll play Boise State in a rematch in the Mountain West. That might be the best conference championship game. That's going to be an electric conference championship game with basically a berth on the line potentially. I guess Tulane is in the mix too, but a college football playoff berth could be on the line, especially with Tulane having to play Memphis, having to play Army. I'm like low-key, Emory, and we'll talk about all the conference championship games next week, but I'm low-key super excited about these conference championship games.
Yeah, these are going to be fun to watch, man. This UNLV team played with their food a little bit against San Jose State, but they were able to figure things out in the rain out there in California and got the job done. So kudos to those guys, finishing the drill. But yeah, this could potentially set up a big-time rematch for the right to go to the postseason for the G5.
No question. Nice work, by the way, by you on both those bets. Northern Illinois, the MAC is not your friend, buddy. The MAC is not your friend. You have not done well with the MAC. Northern Illinois +3. They lost to Miami by 11. Toledo -2.5. They lost to Ohio 24-7. You had Georgia Tech -9. It's a lot of points. They won the game, but only by 1 point over NC State. Indiana, that score, I don't know, man. Special teams killed them. They were actually, the first half, I thought, wow, Indiana, Cignetti's done an unbelievable job. Indiana is legit, but it was the special teams that killed them. And then for Army, I am so impressed by Notre Dame. I mean, what Notre Dame did to Navy and Army is super impressive to me. I don't want to hear people say, oh, they're Army. No. They're 10-0 Army. And they beat everybody on their schedule, and Notre Dame beat them up. I was not expecting that at all, Emory.
Well, two things for two separate games. One thing for each game. For the Notre Dame game, once I saw the first drive, I was like, yeah, this is over. Because how well Notre Dame was just mowing Army off the line of scrimmage consistently. It started to look like Army was a man short on defense because there was no one in the A or B gaps in terms of linebackers because that's how engulfed they were in that offensive line. Love the attitude for Notre Dame that they went out there and dominated with against Army. In the other game, the Indiana game, it was to me a common theme that I saw in that game and also in the NFL yesterday was guys just are not football aware on defense in zone coverage. Stop covering air. Stop covering grass. If you get your zone drops and you have no one around you, but you see a man, go get the man. Like, don't just let him catch the ball on these 5-yard stick routes. It with no one behind you, no, threat behind you, no threat underneath. Find someone, go plaster him until he crosses your zone. And it was frustrating to see on Saturday and Sunday guys just not understand that simple football concept and was getting eaten up by these short, quick passes. And then that start to get you your attention. And next thing you know, you're getting beat deep down the field.
Yep. Listen, everybody has realized that nobody just plays like the straight 2-3 zone where you just stand there anymore like it's high school basketball. You amoeba to whoever like the closest guy is to your zone, which is what you need to do when you're in coverage as well. All right, Emory, we move on to this week, and your picks, of course, are always presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. And I should also say your picks are also presented by Labatt Blue Light because it's delicious. I love beer. I will hopefully have one tonight while I'm watching Monday Night Football. drinking some Labatt Blue Light with friends, living life to the power of we. Always enjoying it responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. All right, Emory, we shall start. There's still a decent amount of rivalry games this week. Not quite as many as there used to be because some of the Washington State, Oregon State, because of the conference stuff, they had to move a lot of those. So it's not quite the same as it was, but there's still a decent amount. Georgia Tech, South Carolina, Clemson, Michigan, Ohio State. We'll start, though, with a game earlier in the week. Memphis plus 14 against Tulane, who's playing very, very well heading into the AAC championship next week against Army. That's a Thanksgiving Day game, Thanksgiving night. Memphis and Tulane. Tulane is laying 14, Emory. What are you doing?
Listen, I'm going to take the 14 plus the points. I'm going to take Memphis and the points here. Just on the strength of this is going to have to be a tight game for Memphis because of what's at stake for Tulane. And we know teams love to spoil other teams' opportunities. And Memphis is not a bad team. Memphis can score. And so it's going to be fascinating to watch the chess match between these two offenses and how they defend them. That's why I like Tyler Grubbs, the linebacker of Tulane. He's been playing a while. He was playing against Zach Wilson at BYU when he was at La Tech. So he's been in college for a minute.
What?
Yes. So he's a good linebacker, and he's going to have to be big in this game because you know how Memphis loves to influence you with the run game. And on the Tulane side of things, Seth Hennigan, the quarterback of Memphis, is a really good quarterback, man. Efficient, good short to intermediate accuracy. He's been dynamic for this Memphis Tigers offense. So I know Tulane's quarterback is a young guy. He's great Mensa. So this is going to be a really good game, man. And I think those two pieces will play a significant role in the outcome.
All right, so Emory is taking Memphis and the 14 points in the Thanksgiving Thursday night game. It's interesting. I'm looking. There's 2 MAC games tomorrow night, Tuesday night, but none on Wednesday. I wonder why that is, why they wouldn't have any Thanksgiving Eve games, Emory.
Or Thanksgiving games. Like this would have been a perfect opportunity for Maction to Maction, right?
Yeah, I think they just defer to the NFL for Thanksgiving, but there's nobody else playing Wednesday night that I'm aware of. Like that seems like a missed opportunity. Why not have one game Tuesday night, one game Wednesday night?
Right.
If you're the MAC, it's the last game of the season. It's not like there's some reason to not have it. Maybe it has something to do with the MAC championship. No, it can't because they've got plenty of time before the MAC championship. That's I don't know. I'm sure they got a reason. Anyway, what about Oklahoma State, who is plus 16.5 against Colorado? I haven't dug that deep into it. By the way, this is a noon game on Black Friday. There used to be 1 or 2 Black Friday games. Now there's a lot of Black Friday games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 Black Friday games, including my game, which has a pretty close spread, which is encouraging. My buddies, Tom McCarthy and Jay Feely, will be doing Minnesota-Wisconsin, which is an awesome game. All right, so Oklahoma State, what happened to them? I thought they had 20 returning starters. I thought they were the clear favorite in the Big 12, Emory.
They were my pick to win the Big 12 because of that reason. The 20 returning starters, an elite talent in the backfield in Ollie Gordon, an experienced quarterback, and a good defense that had gotten better over the course of last season. And it's wow, this is a really solid team in a wide open Big 12, but it just completely fell apart. But the reason why I like Oklahoma State plus the points, I like Colorado to win the game. But based on what we saw Kansas last week, and maybe it was an anomaly in terms of the missed tackles from Colorado, how enthused will they be to tackle Ollie Gordon? That's going to be the biggest key, and I think that's going to be how Oklahoma State can keep this one close. Just run the football, make them make tackles consistently, and Ollie Gordon is someone that has been forgotten about this season in terms of, with all the Genty talk and rightfully so and justifiably so. But Ollie Gordon's a pretty doggone good back, and this is an opportunity in a nationally spotlight televised game against Colorado to showcase that. So that's why I'm kind of interested in see how he does, and also how Colorado bounces back from a tackling perspective against Oklahoma State.
Big 12 is a mess right now. I mean, BYU lost again. Colorado lost. I guess they're only getting one team in. I haven't really studied it that closely yet. I will towards the end of the week, but I don't know how they get anybody else in with the way all these teams have multiple losses. I don't even know who's going to get into the Big 12 championship game.
Right. You might even see Arizona State sneak back in. Then you watch the game last week versus Colorado. You're like, wait a minute. How does Kansas have 6 losses? This team looks dominant the last 3 weeks. So it's crazy.
Kudos, by the way, to Lance Leipold. That guy can flat out coach.
Great.
They lost some heartbreakers earlier in the year, and that was part of it, by 1 score. But they have gotten better, and they've played much, much better here down the stretch. What about Miami, Ohio, and Bowling Green? Huge game in the MAC. That is a Black Friday game. Miami is getting 2.5 playing in Bowling Green.
I like Bowling Green in this matchup, so I'm going to take them in this ball game. Connor Baselick, I've been a big fan of since 2020 when he was at Missouri. Then he went to Indiana, and now he's at Bowling Green. So he's played a lot of football, along with Brett Gabbert, who has been in college since probably, Baselick has been in college. But Baselick, I know Harold Fanning Jr., the tight end of Bowling Green, is the premier NFL prospect there. But Baselick just plays good football. I just like how he throws the football. I've been a fan of his for those 2 other stops, and he's done solid when he's been at Bowling Green. So I'm excited to see how this game plays out, and I like Bowling Green in this one.
Yeah, that's a huge game in the MAC. Scott Leffler's done a good job turning Bowling Green around, and you're right, that tight end. They've had some good tight ends there since he's been there at Bowling Green. That's a good lesson too, Emory. Whether you're talking about Joe Moorhead or Kenny Burns or any of these MAC coaches, Leffler, those first couple of years were rough, really rough. And they stuck with him, and they've popped through to the other side. What about Liberty and Sam Houston? Sam Houston is getting 2.5 against Liberty.
Yeah, I like Liberty in this spot. And this was another one of these preseason darlings in the college football playoff conversation. It was Boise State, Liberty. Everybody kind of had rubber stamp as the potential G5 representative because of what we saw Liberty do last year and getting through the season and into the Fiesta Bowl against Oregon. But Caden Salter is still a fantastic player, excellent distributor of the football. And Quentin Cooley, the running back, is phenomenal. So you have a 1-2 punch in the backfield, too much explosiveness. This is a situation where you have great offense versus very good defense. And fortunately for us, we saw this last week manifest itself in Jacksonville State versus Sam Houston. And Jacksonville State, with their 1-2 punch at quarterback with Tyler Huff and running back with Trey Stewart, was able to best Sam Houston. They didn't have a big explosive day scoring, but both guys went over 100 yards rushing. I think we'll see 2 big days here from both Salter, and we don't know if he's going to come back or if he's going to go into the NFL draft or he's going to be one of these high-priced, grad transfers to a Power 5 school, Power 4 school. Who knows? But Quentin Cooley is a senior. He'll be eligible for the draft and someone that you should keep an eye on for day 3.
By the way, I can't emphasize this enough. The value of having a college football program, and in particular striving to play at a higher level. Some of these schools people had never heard of and wouldn't know anything about if they didn't have a Division I football program. But then what happens is their score is always at the bottom of the ticker. They're listed on DraftKings amongst all the bets. Every Division I FBS game is listed. Like, people see Sam Houston or Texas State or some of these schools that they might have never, like, think about any product. You know, like I talk about myfrontpagestory.com a lot. It's a business I have. I think it's a great, like the best holiday gift ever. It is expensive and hard to get name brands out there, to get people to just get awareness for things. Think about the awareness that you get for your university, Emory, just by being an FBS program, just by committing to that. The amount of time that people talk about you and they just see your name. Like 5 years ago, a lot of people, unless you follow FCS football like me and you, a lot of people never heard of Sam Houston State. Now, people are like, they see it a lot. Like, oh, they're playing Jacksonville State, who you just mentioned. People didn't even know. They would have thought that was in Jacksonville. You know, like these schools make a commitment, and I give them a lot of credit because it absolutely impacts their brand and their notoriety nationwide.
And the bigger zoom out 10,000 foot level view of this thing, Ross, now that we have the college football video game back, imagine now you're cultivating a whole new young fan base, kids that are like 9, 10 years old. I'm going to start my dynasty with Sam Houston and build them up. So now by the time they get to 16, I want to go to Sam Houston. I play with them in college. I want to go there. You know what I'm saying? So you have now been able to, the timing is perfect. You've hit the timing at the right time to where now you can cultivate a new young fan base. And to your point, which is a great one, you can get the older fan base with the betting and the seeing the title, the name scroll at the bottom of the screen. So now you're just increasing your brand, which is why we always said, like, football is the front porch of your university. Now you could probably get more applicants that just want to go to school just because you got a football team that plays big time ball. So all of this is a net positive for these schools.
Such a good point. I mean, I went to a Houston Hofstra college basketball game Friday night because I was in Houston, and Amanda Balionis is a Hofstra grad. I haven't thought about Hofstra in years.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like the university doesn't even exist anymore without a football program. It's bananas. Yeah, when she was there, it was like Willie Colon, Marcus Colston, like, and by the way, that has a big impact. Those are NFL starters. Willie Colon, Hofstra, Marcus Colston, Hofstra. You know what I mean? Like, that has an impact too. It's short-sighted. It really is. What about South Carolina? They're getting 2.5 against Clemson. This might be the juiciest game on Saturday. It's one of them.
It is. This could be a potential playoff berth game for South Carolina. I mean, looking at how the SEC has played itself out, South Carolina might be the third or even second best team, if you can make an argument, for them in the conference. They probably should have beaten LSU. I know they should have beaten LSU. They should have beaten Alabama. This team is right there with Georgia, in my opinion. And so this is a huge game. And look at how Clemson has turned this thing around to where now they could be a live player to get into one of those 12 spots to get into the postseason. So huge game. Cade Klubnik has played exceptionally well down the stretch. His athleticism gives Clemson a chance. I love how he just continues to compete. He doesn't let bad plays linger. And Kyle Kennard, outstanding edge player, man. Talk about just blowing stuff up consistently. Big reason why South Carolina, just loads of athletes. They get off the bus and their team just looks different. So I'm going to take South Carolina in this game because I feel like they now understand the assignment of what's at stake. Hey, if we just continue to keep winning, we could end up in the postseason.
All right, lastly, a game and a rivalry you know a little bit about. Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, as you rock your Raging Cajun sweatshirt, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. They're laying 9.5 against the boys from Monroe, Emory.
Lay them. Unbiased pick. Lay these points. Check out Lance Lejeune, the outstanding receiver, former Maryland quarterback, made the transition to receiver, 6'2", 215, an NFL prospect. But the Cajuns will beat the stuffing out of the Warhawks, who's playing good football this year too. They may even end up in a bowl game, but not today.
By the way, Raging Cajuns is such an awesome nickname, but it also strikes me as one that, like, we're 10 to 20 years away from them saying that is offensive in some way. You know what I mean? Like, what are you trying to say? All Cajuns are mad? Like, that's That, it's like that and Fighting Irish they'll probably get rid of over the next 10 to 15 years. Unbelievable. Check him out on social media at FBall Game Plan. I'm at Ross Tucker NFL. The keg is kicked. We're all tapped out.
Thanks for tuning in to College Draft. Make sure to also check out the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, Even Money, and Fantasy Feast, all on the DraftKings Network, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.